Live from Johnny's Donut Studios in beautiful downtown San Diego. You're watching Mad Bomber Podcast.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
We are on Fired Up Fridays today, and we are getting ready to go play the Washington Commanders. We are the 1-1 Raiders. We are the 5th seed right now in the AFC after 2 games, and we'll be playing the Commanders, who are the 8th seed. This will be at 10 o'clock Sunday morning. This is another East Coast roadie. The Redskins have had, they've had 10 days off. They're going to have 10 days off. They're coming back home after playing a game against the Packers. We're going to dive into that game and what happened. News of the day, if you're a Raider fan, Jaden Daniels out. You have your ex-Raider Marcus Mariota, who will be starting for the Commanders this weekend. I can see this game going pretty. In my opinion, it's going to be the Raiders defense against the front line of the Redskins. But we'll dive into that. But I want to bring in someone who, this is a whiz kid. This kid knows his stuff. He will school you. He's not a Raider fan. He is a NFL fan. This gentleman will turn your heads. He turned my head from the day one. He knew as much about the old Raiders, and I can't believe it because he's a young man, as 90% of my friends do. I would love to bring this guy to Vegas with me and watch football all weekend with him because this guy's a treat. I want you to introduce to you the Whiz Kid, and his name is Alex.
How's it going, man?
Okay, I'm trying to get you on the stage. There you are.
Hey, Johnny. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I'm having a problem getting you on both screens. Go ahead, bud.
Oh, nothing much. Hey, I appreciate the intro. Tell you what, Johnny, the Whiz Kid, I don't know if I love that label, putting a little bit of pressure on me, but you know what? Hey, I'm going to come in, do the best I can, play like talk like a Raider today, even though I am an NFL fan, like you said. And I'll tell you what, I would love to go out to Vegas. I'd love to go out to Vegas and wear a 00 Jim Otto jersey. I think that would be a great way to pay homage to one of the greatest Raiders of all time. I love the lines they had in the 70s with Otto, Upshaw, Art Shell, all guys that had, especially Shell being the first black head coach and then Upshaw being the head of the Players Association. I think those guys right there, really epitomized what it was like to be a tough, nasty Raider, along with guys like, Jack Tatum, Ted Hendricks, Blitnikoff, Casper. So, and the many quarterbacks they had. So great to be on a Raider podcast.
Well, so give the guys at home a little bit of background about you, because I know you were a fan of another team. I'd like for you to tell the story and tell you how did you get into football? What do you do on Sundays?
What do I do on Sundays? I'm an NFL Red Zone guy. I love to watch all the teams. I like seeing when teams are in scoring position. Growing up, I moved around a lot. My first football game was actually a Raider Charger game. I want to say it was 01. My mom took me to Qualcomm Stadium when we were living in Carmel Valley when I was a kid. I believe the Raiders won that day, if I remember correctly. It was LaDainian Tomlinson's rookie season. LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees, their rookie years. And I'm pretty sure it was when Gruden was. I don't know if Gruden was still with them or it was the first
last year. That was his. It
was his last year. Then okay. So yeah, I mean, still a good. So that was the Tuck Rule season then, if I remember correctly.
Season exactly.
Wow.
Last year. So you have
my mom wanted to get out of there at halftime because she was a little, just not feeling the Raider fans. But yeah, that was my first. And then I moved to the East Coast as a kid. Was around a lot of Giant fans. Lived in Florida for a little bit, in South Florida. And, growing up, I was like different teams at different times, more of a players guy. I think it was when I moved out to California in 2014 when I really started to appreciate the Patriots when they were winning again. Just appreciating Tom Brady and, the long career, the how amount of Super Bowls he won. But at the same time, look, I never grew up in Boston, so I was never, beholden to them. I wasn't like, one of these guys who was like, oh, them over everything, I never loved Spygate, and what Belichick did there. I'll be honest with you. I think the Tuck Rule, I'm glad that they got rid of that rule. It sinks that, it got ruled in that favor, but, at the same time, I really kind of, like just the league in totality. And, I like good football. I don't really care what jerseys being worn.
What was the players that you really liked other than Brady? What was like, I mean, how tell everybody how old you are. And then who was the first player that like, you're like, whoa, that guy's real good.
The first player would be, so for a while I was a Charger fan, especially when I moved to the East Coast, being from San Diego. I was born here in San Diego. And LaDainian Tomlinson was the guy. I mean, he was an MVP, the best running. That's back when, and it's kind of getting back to that where the running backs are more of the focal point of good offense. Pretty much all these good offenses in today's game have good running backs now. But, that was definitely back in the day when running backs were dominant, and LaDainian Tomlinson was the best one for a brief amount of time. Other guys I liked, I loved Peyton Manning. I just thought he was a good class act.
Yep.
And then, other guys, I liked Aaron Rodgers for a little bit before he kind of got all controversial. And
yeah, what happened there? It seemed like the last 5 years, and again, I don't want to jump on anybody saying, oh, this guy's doing this or doing that. But it sure seems to me like something happened in his head. And if you read, I think there was a Netflix, something I watched on him.
I think it was called Enigma.
Yes. And when they talked about, he was talking, he was always seemed like he had a little shit baby complex about being the youngest one and how he wasn't really, he was always alone and he was like the lone wolf out of all these kids. And it just seems to me like he's becoming a little bit of a crybaby, a Mitch, man bitch, just a little bit of a Mitch.
Yeah. It's just, some people have this thing where they feel like they got to share their opinion on everything. And especially when you're a public figure, and you're a quarterback where a lot of people in the locker room are very dependent on you. When you're going viral for your comments every week, I just don't think that's good team football. And that's kind of what he became. It became a lot about Aaron and less about, the Packers or the Jets or, he's been on his best behavior with the Steelers for now, and I think a lot of that has to do with Mike Tomlin, but
he's on a short leash with Tomlin, and you could see that in the press conferences. Although even in week 2, he did snippet a little bit about how, last week we were the best offense and now we're not. He's like, that's just the guy he is. And I am so glad the Raiders dodged a bullet that we did not get that guy, because that guy is just he is just an unclass act. And then you have to hear, like a lot of the Raider fans didn't want Shadir because they didn't want the baggage that came with it. And same thing with Rodgers. You have the Pat McAfee baggage that actually comes a little bit on the edge all the time, where you're waiting to hear from Pat McAfee to see if there's anything about Aaron Rodgers. And if that's a guy on your team that's going to drive me nuts. And I don't
Yeah.
want it. I don't like baggage at all. I don't want it. I just don't want it. So, well, let's jump into the Raiders. And then this is Alex. Alex is the whiz. I've got a couple people ask me, came in a little bit late. He is the knowledgeable whiz. He will break down the game for you. He's going to break this down. I'm going to lead him. I'm going to lead the water to the water. I'm going to lead the horse to water. Yeah, I'm going to lead the horse, So what I wanted to do first is let's go ahead and let's talk about the positives that we saw on Monday night. And I believe there was a lot of positives. And we're going to keep it fired up Friday. And I don't have that. I'm not going to be a TMZ, throw shit on the wall, get pissed off at somebody. We'll talk a little bit about Geno. Geno knows he had a bad game. He sold it. We'll get it. It sailed some passes. We'll get into that. But I believe right now the Raiders' strength of the strength of the Raiders right now is their defense. And I believe that we're going to watch a play right here real quick, and then we'll elaborate on this play. So let's take a peek.
Yeah, good coverage.
Good coverage. And let's go ahead and watch that one more time. And what I want you to watch, and the reason I opened that up without saying anything. So now I want you to go ahead and kind of be the commentator here on the play and show how Jeremy Chinn kind of dictated that. And that's another guy who's playing well in the box. He's been doing good coming up. He does a lot when they play cover 3. He's kind of like the monster back who will follow the guy across the field or in the field. But let's watch that again. What do you see there, Alex?
Yeah, I see. I don't know. Is the corner? Is that Blue Kelly? I didn't get a good.
Yes.
That was Blue Kelly. Yeah, I thought he had some sticky coverage right there.
No. Eric Stokes. That was Eric Stokes.
Oh, that was Stokes? Yeah.
Yes, I apologize. That was Eric Stokes. And I thought the technique there was perfect on the inside.
Yeah, no, I do too. And Stokes had a little bit of an up and down game. There was a play early, another play in the game where he was in cover 2. And the Raiders don't run a whole lot of cover 2. They're mostly, when you think of Pete Carroll, you think of the Seattle 3. And, you think of Richard Sherman, like the bump and run press corner in playing cover 3. You think of Earl Thomas as the single high safety, and that's kind of what they have, what they want Polamalu to be, is that kind of their version of Earl Thomas. And then Jeremy Chinn is more of the what's called the rover, where you're the in the box player and you're kind of like an extra linebacker, kind of like what Cam Chancellor was for the Seahawks. Chinn's been he's bounced around a little bit. I remember his rookie year in Carolina. He really burst on the scene. He went over to Washington last year, and I thought he did a good job for them. I think I was kind of surprised they didn't bring him back. I guess maybe the Raiders just gave him a little bit more money than the Commanders were willing to give him. But he's a good, experienced player. And, the thing with the Raiders I've noticed right now is I guess Darnay Holmes is their nickel corner.
Yes, Darnay Holmes is.
But when I'm looking at the snap counts, he's not playing a whole lot. And
they're bringing Jamal Adams in more or less. They'll bring him in more as like an extra linebacker, and they'll play him kind of like Cam Chancellor played, and they'll have Jeremy Chinn play that monster back who almost kind of end up being your 5th DB.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know how long that's going to stay that way. I mean, with the Commanders, they're going to be in 11 a lot. Yep. So it's going to be, and especially with the couple of injuries they have besides Daniels, their number 3 receiver, Noah Brown, is going to be out. So it looks like it's going to be a rookie, Jalen Lane, I believe. Jalen Lane. Yeah, who's a rookie out of
Noah
Tennessee.
Brown's out for this game. Jaden Daniels out. And then there was, who else was out?
John Bates.
Bates, that's their tight end.
Yeah, he's more of their blocking tight end.
The 11th personnel guy.
Yeah, well, he's more of their guy when they go into 12 on occasion. So it looks like they drafted a guy a couple of years ago out of Kansas State. His name is Ben Sinnott, he's more on the smaller side. He's not exactly a John Bates. I'm curious to see. I didn't really look too deep into the bottom of the Commanders roster to see if they're going to maybe bring someone else on. Maybe they move the personnel around a little bit. Maybe there's more 2 running backs on the field. Maybe they activate Chris Rodriguez to use him along with. They got this guy. They got Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt. He apparently likes to go by Bill. So I think to save a little bit of time. So I'm not saying Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt. I'm just going to say Bill.
Bill.
From now on, just to simplify things a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Chin is a very good communicator. He was a small school guy, and really has kind of taken on a leadership role. Now he doesn't have the guys like Bobby Wagner and Frankie Lou. He played with Frankie Louvu in Carolina when he was on Washington. So it's a whole new group that he's kind of getting the communication along with. And I think once the Raiders could kind of get their communication down on the back end with some coverages, especially if the Raiders going to be playing a ton of zone. Zone is all about communication.
Yep.
And passing guys off, making sure who's in the right area of the field. Because even though you're playing zone eventually turns to man when a guy runs into your area.
Right.
So once they're able to get that down, because I think this D line of the Raiders is playing pretty good. Max Crosby's doing his thing, especially against the run. I mean, Max Crosby had 3 tackles for a loss last week. And a big issue, the thing the Chargers did was they would put in the run game, they would try to block him with a tight end. And every time they put a tight end on Crosby, it ended up as a TFL for Crosby. Yeah. So I wonder if the Commanders are going to see that and say, hey, listen, we can't we need to make sure that a lineman is blocking him on every play. Either we're going to run duo right out at him, or and then maybe have Kuntz or Tyree Wilson be the guy who's unblocked and have them try to pursue it from the back. Because if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I can't let Max Crosby beat me. He's the one guy.
No. And going back to let's go watch a play where they're doing cover 3. Let's go back to the DBs, because we just alluded to it earlier about Jamal Adams coming in as opposed to Darnay Holmes. And this is what I wanted to show you, because this was something that I saw and I was like, wow, this is a great play. Another part of good communication on the back end. And remember, 2 weeks ago, we did not like our cornerbacks. We need to get what was the guy from the Chargers, Asante Samuel, and he's not a Pete Carroll guy. He's a small guy. Pete Carroll has his guys. He wants big guys, and he's going to keep the big guys. And it's like, again, the TMZ podcasters are throwing shit on the wall with Asante Samuel. And then there was another gentleman that they wanted to get from the Bears that was on their practice squad. But let's take a look at this communication on this play. Okay, there you go. They're going to play cover 3. Okay, comes out. There's Adams. Now, boom, he's in the flat. Boom, he comes up to make the tackle right there. Let's go back and watch that one more time and watch the cover routes that watch Chin and the cover routes. Watch this again. There's your cover 3. Boom, everybody's covered. Boom, right to the there, and that's Jamal Adams. And at that point, you're because he was more of a free safety, strong safety DB, and now he's playing linebacker. It's really, really easy for them to, as long as he stays healthy. And that's what it worries me, is because he's a smaller body up on the front, in the front half of closer to the line. John Lynch did it beautifully when he went to the Broncos at the end of his career. And I think I'm seeing a little bit more of that with Adams. What's your thought on that play? And especially with that cover 3 and him coming up and Herbert identified it and thought he got the open man in space, and Adams nailed him.
Well, Jamal Adams has always been a guy who's been admired by Pete Carroll. If you remember when Pete Carroll was in Seattle, they traded 2 first-round picks to the Jets to get him.
Yes.
And the thing with Adams is, even going back to his days at LSU, he was never he was always more linebacker than safety. Never a great cover guy. Even with tight ends, he struggles to cover them. But he's a very good player going forward. He's very good at blitzing, especially when it's not a lineman blocking him. Whenever he gets there's a running back, kind of like in a way how if he would have played against Ashton Janty last week, he would have ate Ashton Janty up for lunch in pass protection. Back in his heyday. He was a really good blitzer as a linebacker. But yeah, Pete Carroll, as soon as he gets the job, he's one of the guys that they bring in. And I was a little, like, how are they going to get him on the field with Devin White, Jermaine Pratt, Roberts? But yeah, I think if they're able to get a role for him as that dime linebacker, and especially if they could keep him closer to the box and he doesn't have to play in space, he could play closer to the line. I think he'll really excel because he's a very good tackler. And if they get him.
Great blitzer
too. If you run some fire zone blitzes where maybe you drop like Kuntz into coverage, I don't want them dropping Max Crosby.
We'll talk about that later.
Not at all.
On to that thought because I hated that.
You're not paying him all that money to drop into coverage. I don't even think Max Crosby wants to drop into coverage.
I lost it when I saw that because that was the touchdown pass, and we're not showing it tonight. So too bad for you. What we're talking about is just between me and the whiz kid here. So I'm with you. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. We're gonna do another chin play, cover 3. Let's go ahead and let you narrate this play. Chin's moving on the inside. This is the play that almost brought us back to the game.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Chin did. Yeah, Chin does a great job taking away that deep over route right there.
Perfect. Let's watch it again because that's he goes in, he communicates. If you immediately see it, he goes to Pratt and tells Pratt that he's coming on the inside. Pratt immediately moves his body and then almost makes the pick. Let's watch it again. Pratt goes in the end there. Look, he covers him, and then boom, he goes back to him. Bam.
Yeah.
That's a touchdown, and we're looking at a 20-16 game. And
I think the real impressive thing on that play is the Raiders didn't get any pressure on that play, and they still were able to get a pass breakup.
They didn't get much pressure the whole night. So
no.
They didn't get much pressure, and it blows me away that the Chargers were 3 for 11 on third downs. Again, that's giving your cornerbacks are getting taken to the task right now. So very, very, very good play by the Raiders there. What I want you to let's go ahead. We've already talked plenty about Jamal Adams. We're going to watch a little bit more about the linebackers. What else do you think about the linebackers of the Raiders? What's guy who stood out for you? There's one guy that it's standing out very much for me. Who have you saw?
Well, Devin White is their every down linebacker right now. He's their most athletic guy. I think the more he kind of gets involved in this defense, because there was a time Devin White was the best linebacker in football when he was on that Super Bowl Tampa Bay team. And I thought he was going to have a long career, but he got, if I remember correctly, he got hurt. And then he got benched in Tampa. And then went on to Philly, couldn't find his way there. But the fact that he's their every down linebacker right now is really promising. In the fact that I think the more he gets on the field, the more he's going to be able to get seasoned. And the good thing about the Raiders scheme for the linebackers with Pete Carroll, it's really not a lot of complexities. It's very, play fast.
Read and react.
He's going to be the hook defender for the most of the time. And he's in his heyday, he was a really good run defender too, and blitzer. So if he could get back to that, and then Pratt coming over, he had that good play there. He's a guy.
Wild.
And when you're on Cincinnati and you practice against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and you're going up against a team that's throwing the ball a lot, so he should be a more experienced player in coverage.
So far, so good with him. But I'll tell you what, when he came over from Cincinnati, there was a lot of fans that were saying, good riddance. All he tries to do is get the ball loose. He always goes for the pick. He makes like the disaster plays. I did look at a lot of that. In fact, before my very first podcast, we talked about the linebackers in depth. So he was Cincinnati said sayonara to him. They didn't really. There was half and half people that didn't like him. Now the sports writers were a big Jermaine Pratt guys, and the Kardashians. You know who you are. Remember, Kardashian he picked off the Raiders in the playoff game that I want to always forget. So we talked about Devin White, and I want you to finish that thought right after this. Look at him. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Way too fast for that lineman right there.
Way too fast. Again, look at the 77 tries to come out. I think that's Becton, right? And he's trying to come out, and watch this again. Boom. He's read it. And you're talking about that's just a great play. Now let's go ahead and watch number 51, shall we? He's on nuts 76 that just pushed Malcolm Kuntz out of the way. So put that in your brain thought, because we're going to come back to you real quick. By the way, we have a quiz question. We have a quiz. Oh, my son. Yes, there's my son. He's my best friend. That's Kardashian. That's Derek Carr. Yeah, I love him. He's my best friend.
I was wondering who Kardashian was.
Oh my God. I thought we talked about that too. We have Derek Kardashian. The Raider fans that loved him, I called them the Kardashians. And and it's like thank you, Jesse. Don't worry, we're going to talk about hot dogs soon. As soon as we start talking about food, the fat ass Souzas will be all over the show. They're not really. We haven't woke the Souzas up yet. We haven't talked about food. So, trivia question. Ding, 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 ding. Nobody got this, and I'm going to ask it one more time. Who from Notre Dame backed up Dave Dalby and Don Mosbar? Who is it? He's from Notre Dame. Okay, let's watch that play one more time, shall we? And let's watch 51-76. Watch this. Ooh, no bueno. That's Coons. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's setting the edge really good. I mean, that's really the key to run defense right there, is how well you set the edge. A little confused on the Chargers running a jet sweep with Quentin Johnston. You know,
to the short end of the field too. If you watch it, it's like, okay, thank you, I guess.
Yeah, I respect Greg Roman. There's a couple plays he does where I'm like, huh? You know, maybe he just tries to get a little too cute. But, Landon Roberts does a really good job setting the edge there. He's always been a very good, what they call kind of a two-down linebacker, where kind of the old school could come up, really get physical with linemen and set up for the other guys to make some plays. Whether it was I remember when he was with New England, went to Miami for a bit. It kind of seemed like he was a Brian Flores guy.
Yes.
Wherever Brian Flores went, he would go.
Let's watch a play by him real quick. I'm going to jump to this one, and then let's get back to that. And the reason I wanted to say that, since you set it up, watch Landon Roberts just destroy number 44, who's a very big guy. What's his name? 44. He's the tight end fullback for the Chargers. Watch this though. Let's take a look.
Oh, Matlock.
Yes. Watch this. Watch 52. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And there's your Max Crosby. There's your Max Crosby right there, everyone. I love watching that play. Let's watch it one more time. And then go ahead, because you haven't – I'd like to hear your thoughts on Landon Roberts, because he actually destroyed the Cowboys on a few plays too when he was playing for Pittsburgh. I think he took Spillane's spot as a backup, or as a first and second down backer when Spillane came to the Raiders. Let's take another look at number 52. You can watch 98 too, or you can watch 52, but I like 52. This one's fun. Boom, boom, boom. And that's no small guy right there. That's a big guy. What do you think of
No.
that?
Well, you were watching 52. I was watching 98.
Okay, let's watch 98
And
again.
I think that the craziest thing is, they got a tight end trying to reach block on Max Crosby, which I think is ridiculous. And you gotta get alignment on Max Crosby. Anytime you put a play with him and they're, that's just a play that's very easy for him to blow up because they got a lineman pulling around. They got Matlock, who's coming as a kick out. But Max Crosby's just way too quick to he slips under the tight end reach block, and then he just blows the play up immediately. If Cliff Kingsbury's got to see that play and say, that's something that we can't run because that's just going to get blown up every time. And Max Crosby had 3 tackles for a loss in the game, and I watched every play. They had a tight end trying to block him, and
yes. So
is that that's the what's his name, Laulu or Laulu? He's been a good pass rusher for them so far.
How about that? You wanted stats? We'll give you stats, folks.
There we go. Yeah,
he's a half a sack away. This kid is really good. He was one of the Colts. He was drafted by the Colts.
Yeah.
And he was on their practice squad, and the Raiders nailed him. That was one of the great moves that the GM, what was the name, the guy from the Chargers, Telesco, he got him. And at the end of the year, he was playing Pro Bowl. He was definitely playing Pro Bowl football right there. Let's watch him right there on a spin move. Watch this.
Yeah, I mean, just another one where Crosby blows the play up, and I think Laulu, really good find for them. The D line is the strength of this team, of this defense right now. Of course, Crosby's the headliner, but another guy I really like is the guy they traded from the Eagles. Is his name Thomas Booker?
Booker, yeah, he's actually the number 2 rated D lineman right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought against New England, he had a really good game. They would line him up on the same side as Max Crosby, and they would run some stunts where he would be the setup guy.
Yeah.
And then Crosby would loop around, and he's got a bit of a bull rush to him. So, I think that's a really good trade for the Raiders because they traded away a corner they probably weren't even going to play.
Well, he didn't even play for the Eagles last week. He was on the team, and he didn't even get on one. He wasn't even on one play. And then the week before he got burned, he made one good play for them. And then he got burned the week before too. So Jacorian Bennett, his availability wasn't good for the Raiders. He was always hurt. And this Thomas Booker guys, he's just been lighting it up. What are the matchups? We talked about this before we went on. Talk about the matchups because we have a rookie. Micah Parsons basically baptized this guy last week. Very bad. So could you explain this guy, Alex right here will let you know about the Washington Redskins offensive line right now. Talk to me in depth. You have the floor. I yield, Madam Secretary. I yield my 3 minutes to Alex.
All right. Well, first of all, I think with the Commanders or Redskins, whatever you want to call them, their line has played. In the first game they played the Giants, who was supposed to. Everyone thought the Giants were going to have the best defensive line in football. Even in the Cowboy game, I didn't see it. I thought that was a big reason they lost that game was because they lacked getting pressure on Dak, but. Tunzel they brought over at left tackle, and Tunzel's a really good pass protector. The thing with Tunzel over his career is penalties, and he could be Mr. False Start sometimes
in the red zone.
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah,
but with very athletic, and that allowed they had their left tackle Brandon Coleman last year. He's moved over to guard, and he's played decent for them so far. A big issue for them was on the right side of the line. Josh Connerly struggled last week. But with him, one thing I was watching with him in college, he was really good blocking in the screen game.
He was at Oregon State with JPJ.
Yeah, he was at Oregon. And with Connerly, and especially with the Commanders having a backup quarterback in Mariota, I really expect to see a lot of screens. I think the number one guy the Raiders got to take away this week is Deebo Samuel, because Deebo Samuel has been great with the ball in his hands. Terry McLaurin got his big extension, but he's been real quiet the first 2 weeks. And if anything, a lot of people would say, McLaurin's the guy you worry about beating you over the top. But with Mariota in, I don't know if you got to worry about that as much as you would with Jaden Daniels as your quarterback. So if anything, I may be a little more inclined to not pay as much attention to McLaurin and really try to keep Deebo under wraps and make sure that anytime he gets the ball in his hand, that whether it's on a jet sweep or it's on a screen, the Raiders really have all 11 guys kind of geared in on Deebo as the guy that could really break the game for them. So if they're going to, I expect Cliff Kingsbury to dial up some screens, especially with, Eckler not being in there and Bill being the running back. Could we see Bill in the screen game as well? There's going to be
some. They're going to try to get Deebo the ball.
Yeah, and the other thing with Mariota, whenever you have your backup quarterback in, you're not really too concerned with the health of your backup quarterback.
Right.
So I think they're gonna call some designed runs,
RPOs,
where there's going to be RPOs, and Deebo will be the guy in the receiver that they key in on and getting the ball to in the quick game. Same thing with McLaurin, but I think. The quarterback design where Mariota is just designed to, whether it's a QB power, a QB counter, I think they're going to try to get that running back as an extra blocker and really try to utilize that this week as well. Because I don't think they're too concerned about Mariota's long-term health. And if he were to get dinged, then, we go to the third string quarterback and our superstar quarterback's going to be coming back anyways.
Yeah, they need a win. They need a win for sure. And then they also have a replacement as a guard this week, don't they?
Yeah. So Andrew Wiley is going to be coming in. I mean, Andrew Wiley's a seasoned vet. He was with Kansas City when they were for a couple Super Bowls. I believe he came over 2 years ago when Eric Bieniemy was the coordinator with the Commanders.
Yep.
And because I remember he brought over a couple guys from Kansas City over to the Commanders with him. And he stayed there. Wiley's played, I think he even played tackle a little bit last year, if I remember correctly.
They move him around.
Yeah, he's a guard tackle guy. He's kind of a utility lineman. But yeah, they took out Nick Allegretti, another guy from Kansas City, and they're going to put him in. So, we'll see how that goes. You can't really say that's going to be an upgrade because he was a backup. But it's going to be his first test of the year, and we'll see if Booker could get some bull rushes on him. So I think with Crosby lined up over Connerly, and Booker lined up on Wiley, I think they got to test that right side of the line the same way the Packers did last week, and definitely whether it's trying to run some stunts. But I think Crosby, if they could, here's the other thing. With not having John Bates in there, Zach Ertz is not a blocking tight end. He's a receiver.
He's a release.
So I'm going to be very curious to see. I mean, not only Eckler is also out too, so it's going to have to probably be a lot of 5-man protections because a lot of the running backs and tight ends are going to be a little inexperienced. And we talk about running, helping in protection with running backs, but tight ends also help too. So if you're down, they have last week they had Eckler and John Bates, but now they don't have them. So they're going to have to trust some guys in new roles.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be stunning. And again, the guy that's really unsung on the Raiders right now is Adam Butler. That guy is just dominating. He is pushed. I have been in love with this guy for the last 2 years. He just is one of those. He's a poor man's Aaron Donald. He just makes the middle, just pushes the middle, everybody up the field. And Booker's supposed to be one of the toughest and strongest linemen on the Raiders, allegedly. So in essence, I think, again, and I said this last week, and dang it, I'm going to say it again, because I don't think the Raiders put enough heat on Herbert last week, and you have another person that can move in the pocket with Mariota. But this game is going to be Cliff Kingsbury versus Rob Leonard, especially on this side of the field. So with that, I have Sylvia, my beautiful Sylvia, says, I hope you're right about Geno. So let's go to the offense. And this week, the Raiders have been taking a beating in social media about Ashton Jeanty. And we're going to get to Ashton Jeanty right now, because let's not forget, guys, this guy was in the Mountain West Conference last year. And that doesn't mean he's a lesser than running back. What that means is that he didn't see SEC blitzes. He didn't see SEC dominating tackles. He didn't see that. And if you remember in the playoff game, and when the Boise State's game, he was the only thing they had, but they still contained him as much as they could. So I think Ashton Jeanty is going to still be a dominant back in this league. And he was compared to your favorite. We'll go back to LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't think they've thrown him the ball in the correct manner. I think he's a middle of the field guy, more of a middle of the field guy. And you talked about that. Let's talk about this first. Let's look at this first run, because you alluded to a great point about where he should be running and why the Raiders aren't running him there. Let's take a peek at this run. Right there, boom. Makes one of their best linebackers miss. Makes another back miss. And then he's got the presence to go and still on his feet.
Yeah.
So,
makes three guys miss there.
Makes three guys miss. What's your because we talked about this earlier today. I mean, he needs to be given the ball more or less in the middle of the field a little bit more. What do you think about him and how they're using him right now? And especially let's talk about the blocking schemes.
Yeah, well, the Raiders ran a ton of outside zone last week. And, usually with outside zone, it requires a lot of movement, but you got to have some big bodies too, because they're really all going in the same direction. And it could be very easy for the defense to pick up on, because it's really the same look from the linemen every time when they're just blocking and going the same direction. And the thing with Jeanty in college, when I watched a lot of it was running between the tackles. And he ran a more inside zone. Now, we got to look at the Raiders line. I think Miller, Miller's a solid player. I think this DJ Glaze guy has actually been pretty solid.
I agree.
100%. I'm sure he gets glazed donuts at Johnny's Donuts. But I think the big issue is the interior three of Parham and Kappa and Jordan Meredith. Now the good news is JPJ is coming back to play right guard this week, so no Kappa. But we're still going to have Meredith at center and Parham at left guard. And I think one thing the Raiders should do is run a little bit more gap schemes, and whether that's power or they're running some trap runs. I think they need to get these linemen kind of moving in different directions and using some kick out blocks. I think they need to kind of throw some different looks at the defense in the running game. And that way they could kind of get some of these and maybe get under center too a little bit more instead of some shotgun runs.
Well, I think they should start playing a little bit more 11 personnel more, even 12. And some Marshall Newhouse talked about it on a podcast where let's get this guy moving forward and get him blocking. And I know you had mentioned earlier that if you don't have good blockers up front, that could actually help you because you're pulling everybody to the line. But let's see what Genty can do and see if he could find those holes. And what would open up is those quick hitters under center. That's a play fake gem right there. And then you can hit Bowers or Ian, I forget his last name, number 80 on the Raiders, the blocking tight end who's got great.
Oh, Mayer?
No, not Mayer. Mayer's 87. It's 80. He's Ian. I forget his name. Help me out, fellas, if you're out there. But so I believe that they should go with an 11 personnel and move Bowers out a little bit more. And I heard a great analogy that when Marshall was with the Raiders, they did a lot of that 11 personnel, and it did work. That did help the running game because they learned how to be more of a cohesive unit, especially early in the season. A younger running back, then you got more bodies on the line. And against Ian Thomas, thank you, David Freitas. David Freitas, there's my Portuguese guy. Where's my linguiça?
Ian Thomas. Yeah.
Ian Thomas is a great addition on the Raiders. And
Yeah.
I believe that that's thanks, Portuguese. I believe that we've got to try that at least. We got to try that. I believe that the holes will open up. And then again, Trey Tucker on a reverse or Trey Tucker on a sweep right there can help out. And Bowers, if he's healthy, and I don't think he's going to be healthy yet. He didn't look healthy in this game, and I don't know how.
Not at all.
All of a sudden, you throw a magic wand, and this guy's going to look healthy. So let's go ahead and feed Mayer. But my son brings up a great point right here, and Deanna, I'll get right back with you because real quick. Mark Sanchez, you're right. Steve Sylvester has 3 rings. He's got more rings than San Diego's ever gotten and more Super Bowls than they've ever been. Mark Sanchez, he's my boy. I used to go to all the Raider games with Mark Sanchez. This dude, if he lost, he'd want to kill everybody. And the nicest guy in the world till he loses. But they could do that run. And then my son, we haven't talked about hot dogs yet, but man, he's on it today. We talked about this earlier. Why has Mostert been a healthy scratch?
Yeah, that's a good point. He's an older player. I don't know if he's a little
third down player.
Yeah, third down player. So getting him involved on some sweeps. Yeah, I think that could be good. He's a guy, anytime, you're with Miami, they're looking for speed guys. And I remember that Mostert, they have that like GPS tracking, or they have like they can track how fast you're running or miles per hour. He would usually be up there in like the fastest guys in the league. And he has good size. So that actually could be a good idea. I'm really curious why he has been playing. I wonder if there's something we don't know about. But yeah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. I think if anything, I might want to see him over Zamir White.
Oh, the Zamir White. I mean, they have him on kickoffs. So you're like, ooh, I guess maybe because he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to be that guy. So let's go ahead and let's look at another positive play. And this positive play is brought to you by Johnny's Donuts. If you guys are going to get up early in the morning, go get a killer donut. Get 2. Boom.
Oh.
Boom.
See, for your kids who play Xbox or PlayStation, that's called the circle button. You hit the circle button and then you make a guy spin.
I love the circle button.
Oh, it's the best button.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to watch that again. Okay, I do. Me too. Okay.
Look, he's got ability.
Yes.
all these people saying he's a bust and after 2 games, I think is crazy town. I think if the scheme could maybe make some tweaks, whether it's power runs, maybe they could get him involved as a receiver a little bit, or throw him some screens, get him in space, because if you have to have some DBs trying to tackle him, that's going to be very tough for some DBs.
Well, he hasn't gotten to the second level yet because they're not using him, and I believe that we can see one of the reasons why they aren't using him. So let's watch. We just watched the good of Ashton Jeanty, and again, he was from the Mountain West Conference, and that's fine. That's fine because there's been receivers, running backs from lesser places than that. But what he didn't see at the Mountain West Conference were certain types of blitz. And if the Raiders want to do him a solid, they could go ahead and look at the New York Giants when they got Saquon Barkley. They tried to get Daniel Jones and more weapons, and they needed more offensive linemen because as soon as he went to Philly, he had offensive linemen, and then guess what? He had one of those. That's a ring.
Yeah.
So let's watch this. Let's watch number 2 on this play. We're going to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Okay. He's watching. He's looking at the cheerleaders, and they're not good looking. He got knocked on his ass, and look, where's the cheerleaders? Oh, we're in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah.
Oh, we're out in the Mountain West Conference. Yeah.
You got, there's a saying, it's called looking for work. I hang around a bunch of guys that are looking for work. They're they just moved to California. They're kind of getting their lives together. They're looking for work. Right. Ashton Jeanty's gotta be looking for work a little bit there. Not just kind of the play's not over, and he knows that. I don't know what was going through his head there. That's where the Raiders team psychologists can really earn their money. But at the same time, he got, even before that, he got pushed right back. It's not like he really stuck his nose in there or anything. And look, he thing is, here's the thing with Jeanty that I really respect about him. When he was at Boise State, he got offered. Now, the thing with Boise State is they don't have a big NIL budget. They can only pay you so much. I think he got somewhere around $300,000, which is a lot of money, but he was offered 7-figure deals from power, from the big boys to come and transfer.
When was Georgia?
Well, what about Georgia?
That was Jeanty. Georgia wanted Jeanty.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure everyone wanted Jeanty.
And he stayed where he was at, like you're alluding
exactly. to. And, that really tells me a lot about Jeanty. He's like, this team recruited me when I was a no-name recruit. They stuck with me. The other thing with Jeanty is with his NIL money, he wasn't a guy, he didn't buy, a Lamborghini. He wasn't parking lot pimping. He didn't, go to the jewelry store. He was spending a lot of it on his body.
Yes.
And so he's committed to his craft. Pass protection's hard. It's the hardest thing for these rookies because, it's not something when you're a running back, when you dream of going to the NFL as a little kid, you don't dream about pass protecting. You dream about, making guys miss in the open field, scoring tackles, catching the ball. It's just not, it's kind of like the grunt work, no one wants to do the grunt work, so, but it's something he's got to improve upon. And I trust that he will.
Because he's a hard worker. Look, Pete Carroll is not a guy who's going to put his name on you. And he said it. This kid is one of the hardest working kids. He's a guy that comes in. If you seen did you see his workout tape where he runs up the hills and down the hills? It's insane. I'll post it next on Victory Tuesday when we beat the Redskins this weekend. I will post that. Okay, we're going to finish it off with Mr. We're going to ask you, Alex, what Geno Smith are we going to see this week?
Yeah. Well, here's what worries me is with the Redskins is they, it's the same. Well, Jackson Powers Johnson's coming back, but we're still going to have Meredith, still going to have Parham. The Commanders have some guys on that D line. Deron Payne has been a decent player for a while. There's Javon Kinlaw.
He's playing well.
Yeah, this might be a breakout year for him. He was a high draft pick. I remember when he was coming out of the draft, people were comparing him to Chris Jones and stuff like that. And he's bounced around. He didn't really work out in San Francisco. Went to the Jets last year, and then Robert Saleh got fired, and I guess they didn't want to retain him. But now he goes to another San Francisco guy. Adam Peters brings him in, and he's played a ton of snaps for them, and he's been able to be productive. And then Dorrance Armstrong's their best guy on the edge. And he's a guy, he could even kick inside a little bit, but
you can run on him though. He is not even with the Cowboys, he was not somebody, he was a little bit like Khalil Mack. You could run at him. And he's
a Dan Quinn guy.
He's a Dan Quinn guy though. He's got some meat. But with Geno, what Geno did I was at the game, and I believe that after that first pass, he really wanted to prove to the crowd that he's their guy, he's their Messiah. But everything he threw, and I didn't want to put the video on. I don't want to throw shit at this guy because I really believe he won the game against the Patriots by not even close. He won that game. That pass he got to Thornton to seal the deal was a great play, and that's going to be classic Geno. Two things I noticed on Monday night. He didn't look his receivers off, and he was sailing everything. And I think he was too pumped. I don't know that. And it's, again, Raider fans, we've seen 8 quarters of Geno. We don't know. Unless you were a Seattle Seahawk fan or even going back to the Jets, you can't really have a good opinion on Geno right now. Geno is a Raider right now. He got paid. He definitely got paid as an upper echelon guy, but he sailed a lot of passes. And to his defense, Jordan Meredith did not give him a clean snap almost all night long.
Yeah.
There's a play in the end zone where Thornton's running wide open. Geno had to jump up, had to pull over to the right. That's when the outside rushers come in, and he had to let it go. He sailed it, and it looked like it was Geno's fault. And a couple of the guys around me were saying that, Geno just screwed it. It's like, it wasn't a perfect snap. Jordan Meredith had at least 6 of those. So I went back and watched the tape. And so that can't happen again. And if Pete Carroll's such a great coach, he said, well, you know what? Geno's an athletic guy. He picked it up. He was able to at least get the ball. It's timing, bro. That stuff is huge for a player, especially one who's under that much adrenaline for his first game with Raider Nation. And I'm going to let you have the last word, and then we're going to talk about the Raider fans that came out on Monday night.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about the Raider fans.
I want to hear your prediction. Don't sugarcoat it for my fans. They're going to love you or hate you. It doesn't matter. Give me your prediction and why you think your prediction is correct.
Well, I think this is a winnable game for the Raiders, but I think they got to make some adjustments. I would like to see them under center more. I would like to still have them establish Janty and not give up on him. Now, I saw someone with Pete Carroll's like, oh, we want to give him like 11 touches a game, something like that. Look, Pete Carroll knows more about that kind of stuff than I do. I would like to see him established because I still think Janty, and if they could get him on some maybe change instead of an outside zone, let's try to run some gap schemes. Let's try to run some power, some counter. Let's do that, and then set up hard play action. And then see if we could get, because I don't think I don't know if the coverage on Washington is that great. No. Bobby Wagner's old in the tooth. Frankie Louvu is a good blitzing linebacker, probably one of the best blitzing linebackers in football, not as good in coverage. Marshawn Lattimore is not the same player. And then they got
Harris.
They got Sainer still, who's has his moments of being good, but he's a little boomer bust. He's a younger player. But then they got a rookie.
Our tight ends. That's Harris. Yeah. And Harris, if you watch the game against the Packers, their tight ends ran wild all over that place. And Harris is not going to tackle Brock Bowers. He is not a good tackler.
Yeah, I mean I think the biggest key for any Raider game, probably the next 3 games is going to be the health of Bowers, because Bowers is their best player on offense.
Yep.
If he's a little slow with his cuts, if he's kind of favoring that knee a little bit, then that's going to be very advantageous for the Commanders. But yeah, I think if they get a little 2 tight end sets where they get Mayer as the blocker, and then they got Bowers as the F tight end, and if they could get, Bowers is so good with the ball in his hands after the catch that if they could get some quick schemed up throws for him, utilizing Janty as a play action running back, or I still think the offense should be very Janty focused.
Yes.
To use him as a decoy even if they're not going to hand him the ball off, and then utilize, get Trey Tucker on a crossing route. If they could find a way to get Trey Tucker matched up on Bobby Wagner, whether it's by a motion or by a late pre-snap shift or something like that, I think that could work out very well. And also, Thornton, he's going to be a guy that if they need to get some protection in order to get him the ball down the field. Because if Parham or Meredith is getting bull rushed, then Geno's not going to be able to see these guys down the field. So, and hopefully Jacoby Myers could keep up. He's been their best offensive player so far.
Yes. He was wide open the whole game. And Carroll talked about Geno going long the whole time. He's like, we had plays over the middle. They were wide open. And I was at the game. He was wide open. Mayer was wide open. And then there was a couple of plays where he went deep, man. He didn't get the ball to the right receiver. He was looking very, very, very long the whole time. He seemed to force the whole game.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And then defensively, can this defensive line keep it up? Can Max Crosby take advantage of a rookie right tackle, and especially when they're not able to help maybe as much just because of some injuries? Can Butler, can Booker, can we get something? Can we get Tyree Wilson to maybe have a breakout game? I think that could be, now he's going to go up against Tunzel.
So will Kuntz.
Will Kuntz, yeah. But yeah, I think this is a winnable game for the Raiders.
Score.
On the road.
Score.
I'm going to say it's a lower scoring game. I'm going to go maybe 21-16. Raiders.
Did you like how he did that, young guys? Hey, before I talk about the Raiders, before I talk about the Raider fans, if you're on Facebook, and I know some of you are, please go to YouTube and go at Mad Bomber Podcast. Anything I make, any penny I make will go to Raider Dad, and I'm going to be interviewing Raider Dad this weekend, so we can get his mission statement on every week on our podcast. Raider Dad is doing a great job, and he's really ready to get go. I'm going to be giving 2 tickets to the Jaguars game. That's going to be the next Raider Dad event, and Raider Dad does give less advantaged families 2 tickets to the game, to the father, and could be a son, could be a daughter. He's going to explain all that stuff. But anytime, if you guys could please go to YouTube at Mad Bomber Podcast, and it's easier also for you guys to comment on that. But hey, Alex, thank you very much. Now you get to listen to my 3 minutes of Raider fans.
Best part of the show. Let me hear it.
Oh, you are the best part of the show. I was telling everybody about the Oracle. You're the Oracle. So Monday night, I went with my son, Kyle. Kyle and I went, first and foremost, our fat asses went to Bacchanal at Caesar's Palace, a buffet where we made them wish they never had that deal. Walking up to the stadium, Dave Freitas went to a great tailgate. He went to a great tailgate that Darth Raider has, and they had killer pictures, and I wish I had more time to get those pictures up today, and I will. But the tailgates walking up to the Modelo Zone. I go to the Modelo Zone because they have the TVs there. I don't drink, but I like to go to the Modelo Zone and watch the people there and talk to friends. The Raiders, the black hole comes across from Mandalay Bay all the way across the freeway overpass to Allegiant Stadium. I mean, amazing. And there was the walk, and it was one of those great, like the air was Raiders. And they said they were getting 86% Raider fans that game. I would say it was more like 90% Raider fans. But the aura that crowd gave and the home field advantage for the first time since last year at Carolina, the Raider fans came out, and the Raider fans came out yelling and screaming all the way to the end. There was people that even with 3 minutes left when Crosby got that fumble recovery, that fan base was nuts. They were crazy. I've been to Denver, and Denver, in my opinion, is the greatest place for a home field advantage. That field, the Denver Stadium, is made with risers that where you sit on your seat, and then all the treads are aluminum. So when the Raiders or any of the other teams have the ball, they're stomping their feet. You can't hear the person next to you. It's crazy. It's like there's no way you can hear in that stadium. And then last time I went, Peyton Manning was there. When the Broncos have the ball, they have this baby, and Peyton's carrying it going, shh, Peyton at work. And what I saw from the Raider fans on Monday night was amazing. It was Oakland. I felt like I was in the Oakland Coliseum. The costumes were there. The $2 hot dogs. There you go, Sousa's $2 hot dogs. I named it at 8:06 at night. The hot dogs, the $3 hot dogs, $2.99 hot dogs. The fans were crazy. There was just little kids in Raiderette outfits. And I had, until the end of that game, I thought it was just amazing. So I'm going to leave it at that. Everybody, can you tonight sing a happy birthday for Miles Fry? It's his 13th birthday. It's his quinceañera, is what they call it in Mexico. I'm sure Kevin is having a quinceañera for him. Fuck that! I'm not paying $5 for nothing. Fuck those $5 hot dogs. Kevin's his grandfather, and him and my dad are probably the two cheapest guys I know. He's gonna say he isn't, but he is, and I know he is. Dark Side Tailgating, celebrating Charles Ibarra's 30 years as Darth Vader. Yes, that was one of the highlights. The pictures were great. The food was amazing. And they didn't really charge. I thought, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool what they charge. But he has this pop-up of Darth Vader. He's Darth Vader. And one of these days, I'm going to get him on the show. But I want to thank Alex for doing a great job. There it is. Jesse, forget the hot dogs. Give me Jesse Ray's. All right, you fat asses. Enough of the food. Anyway, Alex, I want you back.
Anytime, Johnny.
Dude, you did a great job. I met this guy a year ago, and he blew me away because usually you'll hear a guy go, yeah, I like this. And I go, oh, yeah? Well, what about that? And then he just schooled me. He made me act like I didn't even know shit about football. So with that, I will thank everybody for coming in tonight. Again, get to at Mad Bomber Podcast. Tell your friends. I'm going to be getting magnets made for your refrigerators, and it'll actually say stuff like that. So thank you, everybody, for coming in. Alex, 100%, man. 100%. You're the man.
Thanks for having me on, Johnny. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, I got to take you to a game. You and I got to chew the fat. All right, fellas. You guys have a great day. And as we'd say around on Fire to Friday, Raiders!
Now it's Siani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff is is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The two tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great call! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. LaMonica back gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Biletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. LaMonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass. Steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Touchdown, Oakland Raiders! I'm sorry I've lost my voice. Kenny Stabler goes all the way 30 yards.